Good evening, everyone. What we discussed in the last session? In the last session, we discussed about constructors. So, what is a constructor? Why we need to go for constructor? Constructor is a special method in Java which is used to initialize current class instance variables. When we are writing the constructor, we have to follow two rules. First one, constructor name should be same as class name, and constructor should not have any return type. Constructor will not have, should not. Constructor should not have any return type. If constructor having any return type, what will happen? It will become a method. If you write a return type for the constructor, then it will become a method. Constructor will be called during object creation. Object creation nothing but calling the constructor only. When you don't write any constructor, Java compiler will add one default constructor. If you write the constructor, then compiler will not add any constructor. Constructors are divided into two types. One is zero param constructor, another one is parameterized constructor. If constructor does not have any parameters, then that is called as zero param constructor. If constructor is having some parameters, then it is called as parameterized constructor. Got it? What is the purpose of this keyword? This is representing current class object. By using constructor, we can initialize instance variables of the class by using this. This represents a current class object. All right. We have seen what is a constructor overloading. What is the meaning of constructor overloading? Writing more than one constructor with different parameters is called as constructor overloading. Whenever you write more than one constructor, number of parameters, type of the parameters should be different, then only it is valid, otherwise it is not valid. Right, we have seen buffer reader constructor we are calling, string class constructor we are calling, string buffer also we are calling, constructor we are calling, that means object we are creating. Whenever the object is created, constructor will be executed by default. Can I write one class constructor in the another class? Can I write one class constructor in the another class? No, we cannot write. The reason, constructor name should be same as a class name. For example, if I take a class as a student, if I take a class as a employee, two classes. Can I write two classes in a project? Yes, multiple classes you can write in the project. So can I call this as a constructor in the student class? Yes. Can I write this student class constructor in the employee also? No. Why? Class name should be same as a constructor name. This class name is employee. I can't write like this. I cannot write like this. One class constructor you cannot write in the another class. Okay. Now, before going for the oops, let's understand one small concept that is called access specifiers. Let's understand access specifiers. Access specifiers are used to decide who can access our classes, our variables, our methods. Now, access specifiers, these are used to specify accessibility for our classes, variables, and methods. So we are writing a class. Inside the class, we are writing variables and methods. One class variables we can access in another class. One class methods we can access in another class. For example, here I am writing one class with a name called car. I'm writing a class with a name called car, and I'm writing one more class with a name called engine. One class is available with the car, another class is available with engine. Engine class is available. Inside the engine class, I am writing void start. Okay, start the engine. I'm writing one method. Now, inside the car class, I am writing one method called drive method. Okay. Then let's write the logic to start the engine. Now I'm writing one more class called car. Inside the car class, I'm writing a method called drive method. Now, in order to drive the car, I need to start the engine. Can I call one Java class method in another Java class? Is it valid or not? Yes, valid. Now tell me, I want to call engine class start method in the car class drive method. If I want to drive the car, I need to start the engine. Start method is available in the engine class. Drive method is available in the car class. These are two different classes. Okay. I want to call one Java class method in another Java class. Can you tell me how can I do that? We need a object to call the method. Engine class start method, I want to call in the car class drive method. Start method is a static method. Start method is a instance method. Start method is a instance method. To create the, to call the instance method, we need the object. How we need to create the object? Engine eng is equal to new engine. Engine eng is equal to new engine. Eng dot start. Eng dot start. Are you able to follow this? One Java class method I'm able to call into another Java class method by default. But in the project, in some scenarios, I don't want to allow to call my class methods in the other class methods. I don't want to allow them to call my class methods in the another class. So currently that engine class method can be called in the car class. That access is available. Access is available. I want to restrict that. Nobody should access my method. Nobody should call my method. Nobody should access my variable. Only my class can access the variables and the methods which are available in my class. So to restrict that, we have a concept called access specifiers. Access specifiers. These are used to specify accessibility for our classes, variables, and methods. In Java, we have below 4 access specifiers. In Java, we have below 4 access specifiers. First one is public. First one is public. Second one is private. Third one is protected. Fourth one is default. Fourth one is default. If you don't specify any access specifier from the first three, then it comes under default specifier. So what is the purpose of access specifiers? Access specifiers are used to specify accessibility for our classes, variables, and methods. So in the Java, how many access specifiers available? 4 access specifiers available. What are those 4? First one is public, second one is private, third one is protected, fourth one is default. Now, let us see what is the meaning of public. Public, this is used to specify global access. That means anybody can access our classes, our variables, and methods. So public means it is used to specify global access for classes, variables, and methods, and constructors. Variables, methods, and constructor. Got it? By default, constructor is public. When I don't write a constructor, who is adding the constructor for our class? If I don't write a constructor, who is adding a constructor? Java compiler. Can we see that? Yes, employee.java. Employee.java. I am not writing any constructor. It is just my class. File, save it. Go to command prompt. Go to command prompt. Java C employee.java compile. Can I see the constructor? How to see that? Java P employee. Now constructor is available. What is the constructor it is adding? Default. Is it adding anything there? No, nothing is adding here. Constructor which is available as a default. Okay. Now whenever we don't write the constructor, compiler is adding a constructor. Now I can write a public. What is the meaning of a public? It is used to specify global access for the classes, variables, methods, and constructors. Everybody can access if it is a public. Class can be public, variable can be public, method can be public, constructor also can be public. If it is public, what is the meaning of that? Everyone can access that. Everyone can access that. Okay. Next one, private. Private. What is the meaning of a private? It is used to specify local access. It is used to specify local access. Private variables, private methods cannot be accessed outside of the class. Private variable, private method, private constructor cannot be accessed outside of the class. Private means local. Only within the class you can access the variables and you can access the methods. It is used to specify local access. Private members, nothing but private variables, private methods, private variables, private methods, private constructors. Private constructors cannot be accessed outside of the class. Cannot be accessed outside of the class. But there is a loophole. In the Java, they provided a concept called reflection. By using reflection, we can break this private. If I use the reflection, I can access the private variables outside also. But legally, it is invalid. We cannot, the default nature of the private means we cannot access the variables, methods and constructors outside of the class. But sir, if I want to do it, can I do that? Yes, there is a concept called reflection API. By using reflection API, we can resolve this. We can resolve this. Good. Next one. Protected. Protected members can be accessed within the same package and subclasses also. As of now, we don't know inheritance. Once we understand the inheritance, we will know what is a parent class and a child class. Protected members can be accessed in same package and subclasses. So if the classes are belongs to the same package or they are belongs to the subclasses, then we can access protected members. Then what about default? Default members can be accessed in same package. If the classes are belongs to the same package, then only we can access the default members. If classes are available in the two different packages, then default also will not work. What is the meaning of default specifier? What is the meaning of default specifier? Come on, man. What is the meaning of default? If you don't specify any specifier, then it comes under default. What is the protected? What is the protected? Protected members can be accessed in same package as well as subpackages of subclasses. Subclasses of other packages also can access protected. These things you will understand once you go for the packages concept and inheritance concept. Currently, we are going to work with public and private. What is the meaning of a public? Public is used to specify global access for the classes, variables, methods, and constructors. If it is a public, anybody can access from inside the class as well as from outside the class. What is the meaning of a private? It is used to specify local access. Only within the class we should be able to access them. Private variables can be declared as a private. Methods can be declared as a private. Constructor also can be declared as a private. All right. Now let me go for class employee.java. As of now, we are just using class and class name. From now onwards, we are going to make it as a public. What is that, guys? We are making it as a public. Whenever you write public class, that class name, file name should be same. Are you guys getting my point? What is the file name? Employee.java. What is the class name? Employee. Whenever you write a public class, your class name and file name should be same. And there should be only one public class in the file. I can write more than one class also. Can I write a class like this? Class student. Can I write public for both? Let's try. Java C. What is the class name? Employee.java. What is that? Is it allowing me to write two public classes in a file? No. From now onwards, what is the recommended is a file should contain only one public class. File should contain only one public class, and make sure your class name and file name are same. Whatever the file name you are using, employee.java, make sure your class name and file name are same. For example, if I use a different, what is my file name? Employee.java. What is my class name? EMP. Let's try this. Java C employee.java. What happened? Class EMP is public, should be declared in a file named emp.java. So what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of that? When we write the class as a public, that class should be stored in a file. Class name and file name should be same. Got it? Now, from now onwards, we are going to write the class as a public. Write the class as a public. Next one. Inside this class, I am writing a method public void m1. Public void m1. Inside this, I am writing system.out.println. I am from m1 method. I am from m1 method. From which class? I am from emp class m1 method. My class is public. My method is also public. What is the meaning? Class can be accessed outside. Method also can be accessed outside. Now save it. Now save it. My class is public. My method is also public. All right. Java C employee.java. Am I able to compile? Can I run? We cannot run. Why? Because main method is not available. Main method is not available. Now, can I take one more class? Can I take one more class? Class main or class test. What is the class name? Test. Inside the test class, I'm writing public static void main string array of arguments. Now, can I create the object for the class? Can I create object for the class? Yes. What is the class name? Employee emp is equal to new employee. What is this? Constructor. One class constructor I am calling in the another class. One class constructor I am calling in the another class. In the employee, do we have any constructor? Are we writing any constructor? No. Can I write a constructor also? Yes. How can we write the constructor? Public employee. Public employee. I have constructor. Can I write some statement in this? System.out.println employee constructor executed. Employee constructor called. Yes. Public class employee constructor called. Public void m1. I am from employee m1 method. Okay. Save this. Now go to test class. I am calling the constructor. Can I call the method also? Emp dot, what is the method name? M1. One class constructor I am calling from another class. One class method I am calling from another class because they are public. Let us test this program. Save as. 1 minute. What is the file? What is the class name? Test. So file name also should be test. Why? This class I am going to make it as a public. Always we'll create the classes as a public so that they are global. Public means global. Which class I need to execute now? Employee class or test class? Test class. Why should I execute only test class? Main method is available in the test class. What is the logic available in the test class main method? Employee object is created by calling employee class constructor. Employee class M1 method also we have called by using object. Object dot method. That is a instance method and that is a public method. Now execute the test class. Java C test dot Java. Java space test. Can you see that? Constructor is called and the method is also executed. Constructor called and the method also executed. For example, I will make this class as a, I will go here, I will make this class constructor as a private. I am making this constructor as a private. Can I make the constructor as a private? Yes, I am making the constructor as a private. If I make the constructor as a private, what will happen? Can I call this constructor outside of this class? No. Let's try. Go to the test and try this. Java C test.java. Can you read it? Employee class constructor is having a private access. What is the meaning of that? It cannot be accessed outside of that. Within the class you can call the constructor, but outside you cannot call that. Fine. So constructor should be what? Public. Okay. Can I make the method as a private? Can I make the method as a private? Yes. If I make the method as a private, what is the meaning of that? This method can be called only within the class. This method cannot be called from outside. I don't want anyone else to call my method. If I want, I will call it. Other people should not be able to call my method. Then I will make the method as a private method. Now, Java C test.java. What happened? M1 has a private access in the employee. That means M1 method should be called only within the employee class. Okay. Now, guys, I will do like this. Public void M2. Public void M2. Inside the M2, I will call the M1. Is it valid or not? One instance method can directly call the another instance method within the same class. One static method can directly call the another static method in the same class. Similarly, one instance method can call another instance method directly in the class. Object is not required. Are you guys clear with my point? Static method can call the instance method directly. No. No. Fine. See here. What is M1? Static or instance? M1 is static or instance? Instance. How can you say that it is instance? There is no static keyword. What about M2? M2 is also instance. What is the access specifier for M2? Public. What is the meaning of that? M2 method can be called from outside. What is the logic available in the M2? Calling the M1. What is the access specifier for the M1? Private. Can I call private method within the class? Yes, private means local access. M1 method available in the employee class. M2 method also available in the employee class. M2 method we can call from outside because it is public. M2 method internally calling the M1. Now go to our test class. Instead of M1, can I call M2? Can I call M2? Yes, do this. Java C space test.java compiled successfully, Java space test. Are we able to call that? I called M2. M2 called M1. M2 is public, M1 is private. Public means global access, private means local access. Clear, guys? Now, if I make constructor as a private, nobody can create the object for our class from outside. If I make my constructor as a private, nobody can create the object for my class from outside. If I make my method as a private, nobody can call my method from outside of the class. I will make my class as a private. If you write the constructor, compiler will not add. Na? How you will get the constructor? Got it? Yes. I am trying to take the construct. I am trying to take the class as a private. Come on. Can I take the class as a private? Can we try? Java C employee.java. What happened? Private is not allowed for the classes. We cannot use private for the classes. Private can be used at the constructor level, variable level, method level, but not at the class level. Public can be used at the class level, variable level, method level, constructor level. Why private is not allowed at the class level? Why private is not accepting for the classes? क्या security? Why? If the class is private, JVM also cannot access that class. That is the reason private is not allowed for the classes. Good. Fine. Let us see here. Public. Public is a keyword. It is used to specify global access for classes, variables, methods, and constructors. Now, class can be public. We can take class as public. Next one, we can take constructor as public. We can take variables as public, but not recommended. That we'll see that later. Okay, we can take variables as public. Then we can take methods as public. So public means global, anybody can access. Now, when it comes to the private, what is the meaning of private? It is used to specify local access. Private variables, private methods, private constructors cannot be accessed outside the class. Class, we can't use private for the classes. Remember that. We cannot use private for class. Not allowed. Invalid. Not allowed. Not allowed. Can I take variable as a private? Yes, we can take variables as private. We can take variables. We can take methods as, we can take constructor as private. Then we can take a method as private. Class means constructor will be available, variable will be available, method will be available. For the class we cannot use the private, but for the variables we can use the private. For the constructor we can use the private. For method also we can use the private. Guys, if I take variable as a private, then what will happen? If I take variable as a private, then what will happen? Private variables can be initialized or can be accessed only within the class, cannot be accessed outside. If I take method as a private, we can call within the class, but we cannot call from outside. If I take the constructor as a private, we can create the object within the class, but we cannot create the object from outside of the class. Are you guys getting my point? Now, In the Java, there is a concept called singleton class. A class which will have only one object is called as a singleton class. If you want to make the class as a singleton, we will go for private constructor. We don't want to allow outsiders to create the object for our class. We will create only one object for the class. For that, making the class as a singleton, we will make the constructor as a private. I will show you this. That we are going to learn in the advanced Java. What is a singleton class in the Java? Okay. What is a singleton? Singletons in Java. Can you see what is singleton? The most popular approach to singleton. What is this? Private constructor. Why they are making the class as a private constructor? We can create only inside the class, not outside the class. For that we will use private constructor. Right. Public means anybody can access. Methods can be public. Variables can be public. Constructor can be public. Classes can be public. Private means local access. Local access. Private variables, private methods, private constructors cannot be accessed outside of the class. We can access only within the class. We can't use the private for the classes. Why? Why we can't use the private for the classes? JVM also cannot access our class. That's why private specifier is not allowed for the classes. Can I make variable as a private? Can I make method as a private? Constructor as a private? Yes. If I make method as a private, what will happen? It can be called only within the class, but not from outside. Here you see, in the employee class, I have M1. In the employee class, I have M1. Am I able to call the M1 from M2? Yes, M2 method able to call the M1. Why? Even though it is private, M2 able to call the M1. The reason? Same class. The both methods are available in the same class. Can I call M2 from outside? Can I call M1 from outside? No, because it is a private. Okay. If I make this constructor as a private, can I create the object for employee? If my constructor is a private, we can create the object, but only within the class. Inside this class, you can write the logic to create the object. Now, can I create the object inside the M2? Employee is equal to new employee. Is it valid? Can I compile my employee class? Even though the constructor is private, am I able to create the object? Just let me execute only employee class. Java C employee dot Java. Now private class employee. Why? Can you read it? Why it is not compiling? For the class I am using a private. Can I take the class as a private? No. Class should be either default or public. Okay. I am making the class as a public, constructor as a private, M1 as a private, M2 as a public. Inside the M2 I am creating the object. What is the meaning of object creation? Calling the constructor. Constructor is private na. Can I call it? Yes, because within the same class we can call that. Can I compile the employee? Yes, let's try this. Java C employee.java compile. To run it, main method is required. Do we have a main method? No, we don't have. Can I take a variable as a private integer ID and a private string name? Yes, is it valid? Int ID string name. Can I initialize the values here? E.id is equal to 101 and E.name is equal to some Raju. Is it valid, guys? Now, inside the M1 method, can I write the logic system.out.println of ID plus name. ID plus name. Now, I will write a main method. Can I write main method as a private? Can I write main method as a private? No. Why? Main method I am calling or JVM is calling. JVM is calling our main method. Now M2, I want to call M2. Can I call M2? Can I call M1 from this main method within the same class? M1, M2 methods available in the employee class. Main method also available in the employee. M1 method I want to call, M2 method I want to call from the main. Main is a static method or main is a instance method. Static method. From the static methods, can I call the instance method directly? Check this. Java C employee dot Java. Allowed or not allowed? Non-static methods cannot be called from the static methods directly. Non-static methods can be called from non-static methods directly. M1, M2 are non-static. M2 can call M1, M1 can call M2. But main method is a static method. M1 method is non-static. How to access non-static methods inside the static method? Through object. Okay, we need to create the object for this. Let us create the object. Employee E is equal to new employee, current class object. Then I need to call E dot M1 and I need to call E dot M2. E dot M1 and E dot M2. All right. Java C employee dot Java. Java space employee. Am I able to call this? Am I able to call this? Yes, we are able to call this. Why we are getting zero null, zero null? Why constructor executed 2 times? In the main method, I have created the object. First time constructor is executed. Then from the main method, first I created the object. Then E dot M1, I called the M1 method. M1 method printing the data of the instance variables. Instance variables initialized or not initialized? Not initialized. Then it printed default value. It printed default value. Then after that, in the M2, what I am doing? Object I have created. E dot ID, E dot name I am initializing. Then again what I am doing? M1. M1 printing this variable's data or instance variables data? Instance variables data. It is printing instance variable data. In the instance variables, what data available? Default value. So is there any use of this initialization? There is no use of this initialization. That's why first time when I create the object, these variables initialized with the default value. When I create the object for second time also, these variables are initialized with the default value. Fine. Good. If I want to access this data, then I need to write e.id, e.name I have to print. Now, inside the main method, I'm creating the object for employee e.m1. Understand the execution flow. I'm running my program. From where the program execution will start? Program execution will start from main method. What is the first line in the main method? Employee E is equal to new employee. I have created my employee object. Then E dot M1. What is the meaning of E dot M1? Calling the M1. M1 is a public method or private method? Private method. Will it allow me to call? Yes, because within the class we can access that. What is the logic in the M1? System.out.println of ID comma name. ID and name are the instance variables. What type of variables? What type of variables are these? These are the private variables. Are we doing the initialization? Our constructor will initialize. Constructor will initialize with the default value. Constructor will initialize with the default value. What is the default value for ID? 0. What is the default value for the name? Null value. So first time when the M1 method is called, one time constructor is executed, default values are printed. After M1 method execution got completed, then what I am doing? I am calling M2. M2 is a public or private? public. Can I access public methods within the class? Yes, you can access within the class. You can access outside the class also. E dot M2. What is the logic in the M2? What is the logic in the M2? Object is created. Second object is created. Second object is created. Memory will be allocated. Instance variables will be initialized. Then what I am doing? Reinitializing e dot id, e dot name. They have reinitialized. After reinitializing, what I am doing? I am again calling the M1. Can public method call the private method? If both are in the same class, they can be called. Again, what is happening in the M1? Same default values it is going to print. Able to understand what is public and what is private? Yes. Now, what about protected and default? Packages concept and inheritance packages concept and inheritance concept is required to understand the public and default. Sorry, protected and default. Now, can I make my class as a protected class? Protected class employee. Yeah, Java C employee.java. Protected is not allowed for the classes. So what are the allowed specifiers for the class? Only public and default. Private and protected cannot be used for the classes. They will ask this in the interview. Can I make my class as a private? Can I make my class as a public? Public is allowed, default is allowed. Private and protected not allowed for the classes. Remember. Only public and default specifiers are allowed for classes. Private and protected are not allowed. Who told this? Is it my statement or Java statement? Java compiler is telling that, boss, your class cannot be protected. Your class cannot be protected. Your class cannot be private. Only either you can go for default or you can go for public. In a file, only one public class should be available and the class name and file name should be same. When we take the class as a public, file name and class name should be same. Got my point? Note another note. If we use public for the class name, then class name and file name should be same. And how many public classes can be available in the Java file? Only one public class can be available in the Java file. We should have only one public class in the Java file. We should have only one public class in the Java file. Good. Read these points. Yes, ma'am. But here this is extra. Yes, apart from the subclasses, both are same. Yes, right. So that is Java. They told that protected cannot be used for the classes because JVM is not in our package. JVM is not available in our subclass. If it is a default members can be accessed in the same package. They can be accessed in the same package. Yes, but for the class, they did not allow that. They did not allow that. So we don't know what is the reason for that. So that is a language syntax. Right. Good. Please read these points, guys. Access specifiers. These are used to access specify. Some people will call them as access modifiers. Yes, modifier cannot be. We can say that access specifier or access modifiers. We can say like this. Access specifiers are access modifiers. These are used to specify accessibility for our classes, variables, and methods. So who can access our class, method, variable, classes, constructors? For our classes, constructors, variables, and methods. So access specifiers will decide accessibility for them. How many types of access modifiers available Java? We have below 4 access specifiers or modifiers. What are those? Public, private, protected, default. What is the meaning of a public? It is used to specify global access for classes, variables, methods, and constructor. Public means anybody can access inside the class and outside the class. Public means anybody can access from outside the from inside and outside the class also. Public means anybody can access from inside the class and outside the class also. What is the meaning of a private? It is used to specify local access. What is the meaning of local access? Within the class. Within the class. Local access nothing but within the class. It is used to specify the local access within the class. Private variables, private methods, private constructors cannot be accessed outside of the class. We can't use private for the classes. Java not allowing that. Okay. We can take variables as private, can be accessed within the class. We can access only within the class. No need to write it. That is by default. Private variables means can be accessed only within the class. If I take a constructor as a private, nobody can create object from outside. Nobody can create object from outside of class. Nobody can create the object from outside of the class. Can I create the object inside the class? Yes, private inside we can access. Only from outside they cannot access. Then method as a private. What is the meaning of method as a private? Nobody can access, nobody can call our method from outside of class. Nobody can call our method from outside of the class. Then what is protected? Protected members can be accessed in same package and its subclasses. And in different package also, if it is a parent-child relation, inheritance. If there is an inheritance relation, then protected members can be accessed from outside also. What about the default? Can be accessed in the same package. When you don't specify any access modifier, it comes under default. When we don't specify any modifier, then it comes under default modifier. If we don't specify any modifier, then it comes under default modifier. Only public and default modifiers are allowed for the classes. Only public and default modifiers are allowed for the classes. Private and protected are not allowed for the classes. Then if we use public for the class name, then class name and file name should be same. So if your class name is a demo, file name also should be demo. And Java is a case sensitive language. Java is case sensitive language. We should have only one public class in the Java file. Now, if I am taking employee class, can I write one more public class in the employee? No. But can I write one class with a name called some resource? Is it valid? Valid. Why it is valid? It is not public. It is not public. You can have any number of default classes, but there should be only one public class in the Java file. There should be only one public class in the Java file. Public class name and file name should be same. Good. So with this we understood access modifiers. So when we are working with OOPS concepts, these access modifiers also will play the major role. So now let me go to my project and let me show you. Public and default. Public members can be accessed in other packages also. Default members can be accessed only within the package. Same package. Guys, observe here. For the class, which modifier I am using? Public. For the variable, private. Why? I don't want others to modify the value of my variable. I don't want others to modify the value of my variable. That's why I'm making my variable as a private. For class, I am using public. So this is one variable. This is one variable. One variable, one variable, 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 variable. All the variables are private. Why? I'm making my variables as private. I don't want others to modify the value of my variable. I don't want others to modify the value of my variable. Then look at the method public. What is the meaning of this? Global access. Global access. Anybody can call the method from outside also. Scroll down. This is what? Private method. When to go for method as a private? When we should go for a private method? No one should be able to access my method. Nobody should be able to call my method from outside. Can I call private method inside the class? Yes. Yes. See here. What is this? I'm calling the method. What is this method return type? Now, simple example, guys. Simple example. Yes. This is my private method signature. Can you guys know how to call this method? This is my method signature. What is the return type of the method? Eligible response. What are the parameters of the method? Long string integer. So do you know how to call this method? Is it a static or non-static? Non-static. To call the non-static methods, what is required? Object. Okay. So this is my class. This is my class and this is my method. Can you write the logic to call this method? Can you write the logic to call the methods? Write the logic to call the method and store the method return value also. Remove. May assume that this is a public only or anything. Yes, perfect. You should be able to call the method and you should be store the method return value. You should be able to call the method and you should store the method return value. Yeah, you can sit down, man. I will write that. You can check it. No problem. You can leave it. No, same link. I will not change the link. You have seen how many tools are there. Oh, that was you who asked the question. Yes, man. See here, this is a instance method. In order to call this method, we need to create the object. What is the class name? LG service IMPL. Okay. LG service IMPL. LG service is equal to new LG service IMPL. It is expecting three parameters, dot, dot, dot. Long string and int. Three parameters it is expecting. Object is created. Object dot method name. Sorry. Yeah, it is just a object creation. It's my bad. Yeah, I'm creating a constructor by using zero param constructor. Then LG service dot, what is the method name? What is the method name? Object name dot method name. Execute plan conditions. First one is long. Second one is string. Third one is integer. I'm calling. Method is having a return type or method doesn't have a return type. Method is having a return type. What is the return type of method? Elig response. Can I store that into a variable? Yes. Elig response is equal to. That's it. Whenever we call the method, we need to understand what value that method is returning. That value we can store into a variable. So can I say this is a variable which is belongs to this data type? Can I say this is a data type? It is a primitive data type or it is a user defined data type? It is a user defined data type. So user defined data type. This is a class. Can I see what is there in that class? Can I see what is there in that class? Yes. What is there in that class? Variables are available. All the variables are public or private? Private. All the variables are private. Why those variables are private? I don't want anybody to modify the value of my variable directly. I don't want to allow other programmers to modify value of my variable. That's why I have declared that variable as a private variable. If I declare as a private, nobody can access from outside. If I declare as a public, they can access outside. Okay. Perfect. We are able to understand how to call public method, how to call private method, when to go for public, when to go for private. Protected default modifiers are there, but we need to understand the packages and inheritance concept. Then you will get the more clarity on the protected and default. Good. Okay. Any questions, anyone? No questions? Yeah. Online people, why only class as a public? Because class is the one which is executing by the JVM. If a JVM want to access our class, then it should be public only, or you can keep it as a default also. Okay. Static is a keyword. We will discuss more about the static. As of now, we have seen static variables and static methods. So we will talk more about the static. Why only public class? You can take it as a default, not only public, you can take the class as a default also, Mr. Kamal. Can we make inner class as a private? Rajshekar, I did not explain what is inner class. Forget about it. It will come in the future. Static is a keyword that can be used for variables, methods, for inner classes also. Static inner classes also we can use. Static inner classes will come in the future. Okay. Kamal is asking same question multiple times. Why class is public? Yeah. JVM has to execute our class. That's why our classes should be visible for the JVM. That's why we will go for public. Can I make the class as a private? If I make the class as a private, what happening? JVM is not accepting that. JVM is not accepting that. If I take protected also, not accepting. Only public and default is accepted for the classes. For variables, either public or private or protected or default, you can take anything. For methods also, you can take anything. Good. If I make a constructor as a private, if I make my class constructor as a private, object can be created inside but not from outside. Object creation nothing but calling the constructor. When we will go for constructor as private, to make our Java class as a singleton, we will make the constructor as a private. What is the meaning of singleton? The class which contains only one object is called as a singleton. Note, to make our Java class, to make our Java class as a singleton, we will use private constructor. We will use private constructor. The Java class which is having only one object is called as singleton. Yes. That future we will understand. In that some scenarios, I want to make only one object for my class. I don't want to waste the memory. I don't want to waste my memory by creating unnecessarily so many objects. Same object. एक ही object को reuse कर सकते हैं. In that scenario, we will go for singleton. In the projects, we will understand. That is damn sure interview question for the freshers. What is singleton class? How to make the class as a singleton? Okay. In the advanced Java, we will understand that. Sometimes they will ask a question. Write a Java class for which I should create only two objects. If I try to create the third object, it should fail. It should create only two objects. Write a program which will allow to create only two objects. That logical question they will ask. Those things we will discuss in the coming sessions. All right, guys, fine. Online people, with this, I'm stopping for today and we'll continue in the tomorrow session, guys. Thank you. Online guys, with this, I'm stopping for today. We'll continue tomorrow. Bye-bye. Singleton means creating only one object. We'll discuss in the future.